Welcome back to the channel and a happy new year of 2023. We're starting off the year with going over and doing a cleaning and maintenance check on our freeze dryer. We have used it between probably 24 to 25 times since we started it and have not done any other maintenance to it, since we started. We had checked to see if there was anything that we needed to do, and everything just was doing exactly what it should be doing. Of course, taking a closer look at the freeze dryer, it needs a little wipe down, a little cleaning on the outside. Of course, there are several different things within the freeze dryer that can use a nice brush up, as we would say, to get it back to its original, top working clean state. So this video is going to be about showing the steps that we take in which to do that. We're using non-abrasives, very simple cleaning ingredients. Actually, I'm hoping to just use water if we can get by with it. So I'll go over that process a little bit, and we will jump right in over the next few days for this video of doing the cleaning and then doing the maintenance. To start off, we're going to be doing the outside of the unit first. It's much easier and the quickest part of cleaning that we'll have. I always keep our impulse sealer on top. It just kind of keeps it out of the way and we can pull it down when needed. So we'll move that down, and I will be using a microfiber towel, nothing too special, just something that we have around the house. And the thing that we'll be using, I use this a lot for, cleaning around the house to sanitizing fruits and vegetables, is the O3 Waterworks. This is a sanitizing bottle, and it uses ozone to, complete that function. It uses just tap water because you need it to have minerals and other things in it for an electric current to basically react with it. If you've not heard of this before, it uses a cell that produces an electric current that reacts with the water, and when you spray it, if you've ever smelled ozone before, it has a very distinct smell, and it helps sanitize and clean everything after it sits for approximately 30 seconds, I think. So we will go ahead and spray this on the outside of our unit and get it cleaned, and I'll move the impulse sealer down out of the way. We'll also go ahead and spray the outside of our door. Already it's looking so much better, so now we'll go ahead and open our door and clean the inside of the plexiglass. Okay, that looks very good. Nice and clear, exactly what we want. So the next stage of cleaning that you have is this ring right here. This is a rubber ring, and it just pulls right off. Just do it slowly, putting pressure against the machine so it doesn't move forward. And as you can see, it's malleable. And the biggest thing we want to look for is to see if there is dirt or food within the seal here. And I won't lie, it looks pretty clean, so that's good. I might take this upstairs to do a little soaking in just some warm soapy water, just to get it clean, because I think the microfiber towel might stick to it since it's rubber. Pretty much it seems like it's kind of challenging to get that dust off even with my fingers. So some warm soapy water might do the trick, and we will just set that aside. We'll give our front here a nice spray down as we kind of reach our next areas of cleaning. We'll let that sit. I'll show this tray in here. As you can see, it comes out, so that's the part we'll be doing next. Get around that ring and make sure there's not any debris on the outside of it to interfere when we put the gasket back on. I did not spray the screen, or at least try to avoid it just in case, but we'll just kind of give it a little wipe down on there. So that looks nice now. Our towel down there. So like I said, this tray system comes out, and I'm going to see if I can do this without assistance. It's got openings on the side in order to help hold. And when you bring it out, of course, everything nice and slow. And I can already see some food in there. And at the back of it here, it has a connector. Of course, just like many charging things, you have to press down and then pull them apart. Now this might be a little challenging, so I'm going to balance it on my leg here. So you push down on this little almost button here and it releases. So you have a pronged plug here, your male and female. So now this can lay here, and now we have the entire shelving unit out, and it doesn't look like it's really that bad of shape right now. So I think just a little wipe down that we'll go ahead and do, and focus on that inside tunnel, as I call it. Next, I'm going to bring in the camera closer so you can see inside the tunnel here to kind of get an idea of what it looks like and what I'm doing to get it clean. I have this zoomed in a little bit better so you can get an easier look, and I do have a light right here because it is very dark. But in here, this is a metal cylinder, and I'd say it's close to 2 feet in depth. There is one single hole at the very back right here, and I'm going to assume that that is where the water defrosts and goes down to the tube, down to a bucket that we have at the back. So this is the plug that we unplugged from the shelving unit, and I'm just going to kind of tuck that into this handle that's right here so it's out of the way while we go ahead and clean this out. There is some small debris on the cable of this, and that's okay. We'll just kind of give it a wipe down, and I'll go ahead and wipe this out before we spray it down with our water. I do have a paper towel for that purpose. Seems like most of the dirt is at the bottom. I'm sure it kind of flows to as the water defrosts and makes that cleanup a little easier. Things I see in here, some of my hair growths. Looks like a possible leaf or bean of some sort. Lord knows how many cycles it's been in there for, so it's a mystery item. And just like lots of little crumbs of different things. So not too bad for a year of use. Now we'll go ahead and get to our spray. We'll go ahead and wipe this down. After spraying that ozone in there, I can definitely smell some of those accentuated food smells. So what I'll do is I'll clean this, I'll spray this one more time, wipe it out just to make sure we didn't miss anything, and then I'm going to spray it again and just leave it to basically, you know, dissolve on its own. Kind of naturally cleans itself because the water just runs down the sides. Smells a little bit better after that spray down, and like I said, we will go ahead and do one more spray in it for it to just dissolve naturally, and that's one of the best ways to use this unit if you're not needing to wipe something up. So So it's pretty much what we're going to do for the time being for inside. I'm gonna crack the door just to keep things from flying in there because we have dust particles and whatnot. And I'm gonna leave our electric cord here through the handle, and it will not impede with the door as I'm leaving it cracked. We have our door ajar to let the inside of that cylinder kind of dry at a slow pace, and we'll check back on that later in the video. And now I have the shelving unit out. I do want to mention I'm not doing this by the book. A lot of things would recommend unplugging your freeze dryer and turning it completely off. I did not do that and don't really see a need at this point to do it. The chamber, it does say to clean this on a regular basis. We have not done that, and mostly because we're not being overly messy. If anything is in there, it's probably from airflow or just getting bumped when it goes into the freeze dryer. So the trays aren't, or I'm sorry, the shelving units are not terrible, but they do have some buildup at the front, and I'll show that if I can get it to focus. You can submerge this in water. I am just choosing not to because I don't know, sometimes I feel like I have bad luck with things. So we're just going to be cleaning this by hand with our O3 Waterworks spray bottle. But it definitely specifically says to not put it in a dishwasher because that will void the warranty, because dishwashers can get so hot it would probably start to separate the glue of what those heating pads are attached to the trays with. So we're taking it pretty easy, and if I feel like we need a little bit more elbow grease, we'll kind of continue on to the next thing. So we'll start cleaning the top. I do want to get a little closer to show some of the debris that's on there if I can. If it's letting it focus, you can kind of see it's usually at the very front here where all of it is, because like when the trays get pushed in, some of it might be on the bottom of the tray and hits the shelf before it goes in. So it's coming off very easily. Now we'll go ahead and flip this over and focus on those heating elements that are on the top, now on the bottom. And that pretty much completes the cleaning of the unit. At first, we are going to check back with this and allow everything to kind of sit and dry on its own, and if we need to do another application or spray, but everything came off really well. I think I just needed to do 2 or 3 applications in certain spots, but all in all, a little elbow grease of our microfiber towel and our O3 Waterworks really helped the job get done quickly. And like I said, we didn't have a huge mess, but things can build up pretty quickly. So we will let this sit out and check back tomorrow as we complete the cleaning and maintenance of the freeze dryer and move on to the oil change. We're back downstairs with the freeze dryer, and everything is looking nice and dry and clean from yesterday. I brought down our rubber seal, and that cleaned up quite well from the warm soapy water that I did. But we are referencing our owner's manual here, and there are some pretty specific directions that talk about how you need to warm up your oil by running the oil pump. So that is not something we really accounted for, but it does say to only run it for a minute. I'm not sure what that is going to do to it, but at that point then we can open the oil drain plug, and then we will siphon the oil through this Brita looking container, and there is a filter that comes with it, and depending on how long it takes, we might be able to reuse the oil that filters through here and then top it off with whatever we need from our first use. So we will dig right in. So Brad had the idea to actually unplug the oil pump from the machine and plug it directly into an outlet, so we didn't have to run the process since we have everything out. So we are running it for 1 minute, and then we'll be able to continue with the oil. Just give me a moment. Sorry. Brad opened up the filter and put it in here, and it just slipped down with a little bit of brute force. Like I said, that's what came with the unit when it was first purchased. And what does that mean? On it, it has an adjuster, so you can put the date. Obviously, our goal is to pretty much use this immediately as soon as it's gone through its filtration. So you just put it on top, and then we'll pour the oil into here. Brad is going to open up the front drain valve of the oil and let it release into the container. Oh, there it goes. You may to tilt it. I'm holding the back of it too. As Brad's screwing that oil filter back on top, our oil is filtering down here through our new other filtering system, and you can kind of see it in the bottom. It's going to be a slow process, so I'll probably just let this sit overnight. We'll assess how much is left in there and refill the oil pump as needed. I'm going to reassemble the freeze dryer back to its previous state. So Brad's going to help me put the shelving unit back in, because it is not easy to do alone, because you have to plug it in first. So we want to line up our two pieces. Inside it's green, and then over here it's orange-ish red, and you push them together until they click. There she is. So if I just go kind of slow, just to make sure that cord doesn't punch. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
And now we have our rubber seal to put back on. Do you want to assess this door gasket and the wobbliness? I asked Brad about the tightness of the door hinge, so he's looking at that while the rubber gasket is on.
Tight.
Okay. Thanks to Brad for helping us out with the oil maintenance part. I definitely was out of my element there, and it went pretty smoothly aside from a little cleanup that needed to be done, and he got that mat down there for when we go ahead and put the oil pump back down. But like I've said, here is our Brita filter for oil, and on it, it does have a little spot where you can do the date. That's a pretty cool feature, so if you were not planning on reusing your filtered oil quickly, you know exactly from when it's from. So we'll be checking back tomorrow to see how everything did filter out and how much more oil we need to add to the oil pump to get it back to tip-top condition. So we will see you in a little bit. We're back downstairs with the freeze dryer. It's been about 4 days since we left it, and it's only been that long because we have actually been waiting for our oil to complete its way down the filter here. We're not even halfway through it, so not sure if there's something that we have misunderstood with use of this filter. When Brad did a little looking himself after we saw pretty much no filtration, somebody had said that they completed their filtration within 5 hours. We will easily be approaching 5 days, and I know it still won't be done. The first day we had the oil down here to filter, and nothing really was happening, so we had the idea to bring it upstairs and put it on our floor vent in a room that we don't use a ton, and keep the door shut to keep it nice and warm in there. And we definitely started to see a lot more oil drop down, but it's not fast. So if you have any suggestions out there of how to make that process go quicker, let us know. We were not able to find much on Harvest Right's website for some direction or anything like that, but we are back down here, and we'll be using the oil that we already had. I showed or talked about before we have backup bottles, and we'll be using that first, and whatever we empty, we'll keep those containers. Once our oil that we're trying to filter out is completely done, we will go ahead and put that oil into one of those containers and label it so we know exactly what it's from, and it's in an oil container. Perfect. But stick around a little bit longer and we'll be completing our maintenance part of our video today. So Brad took off the oil filter and is emptying the rest of the opened container of oil that we already have on the front of the screen here. It's like a little glass window that you can see the level that it goes to. Currently we're not even at the minimum. You might hold it while you open the other one. Okay.
It's pretty thin oil, so it empties. Nice.
So now we're opening up the brand new one to top off the rest of the oil that's needed. This pipe go quickly, but we'll see. It must have to work its way, so nothing's happening.
It's a large reservoir.
I think there was a bubble. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. What do we want to get it to?
It's like halfway.
Okay, stop.
Like that's perfect. Just wipe it down a little bit. You're good to go.
So Brad went ahead and topped off with this bottle, and so our original one right here is what we have now emptied. And once again, when the original oil that we filtered from is complete, we will fill up that blue bottle to get everything back in. I would agree with Brad's cleaning on it. You don't want a bunch of oil everywhere, so making sure that you have napkins or some kind of like safe cleaning equipment, maybe some dirt on the side, with you while you do this is definitely a fantastic idea, because you do want to keep your equipment clean so it is working well and doing what you need, pumping oil to keep your freeze dryer working. Okay. All right, so here's our current level. Brad just wants to get it back more to a middle amount, so he's opening up that middle dial with a thread and putting some oil into our overflow blue container. Underneath our freeze dryer here is where we keep the pump, and Brad went ahead and put what he called a pig mat, or like I'm going to call it an oil mess blanket. So it'll sit on there in case we have any spills or accidental leaks or just extra dripping. And now he is connecting the hose back onto the pump. That's connected to the freeze dryer, and then the plug that is attached to the back of this pump plugs into the back of the freeze dryer. A quick note, after Brad had his gloves on still from pouring that oil in, he went ahead and stuck his hand in the top of this filtration and made some adjustments to the filter in there, and we're definitely seeing a lot more activity in regards to the oil coming through. So love to see that, and if you run into the issue that we had, make some adjustments. Watch it for a moment if you don't see any oil immediately kind of coming through in a constant drip pattern, because it might just take a little fiddling around to get it down where it needs to be. In a quick recap, what we've done in this video was do a nice clean down on the outside of our unit. Normally not such a bad situation, mostly just dust because it's just sitting in one location and not being moved around. I had put it off a few times, mostly just forgetting and getting back to things upstairs, but we are nice and hopefully as dust free as we can be for the time being, with hopes of keeping up on that after and during running each cycle. Other things that we accomplished in the video for cleaning was cleaning the plexiglass door and checking the adjustments on the hinges. Now, I thought that there was a little bit too much wiggle room, and Brad said he thought that that's supposed to be the way the door is supposed to open. So if you have information on that, please report back to us on what your opening kind of feels like. There's a bit of wiggle room and it doesn't seem to interfere, and you want to make sure that there is, because the door has to properly press up against this rubber gasket, which brings us to our next item, the rubber gasket. We took off and washed this with warm soapy water, and it came very clean. Definitely some watermarks, but because that's just that texture of the rubber, that's going to be the case unless you're using more of a chemical or, you know, more harsh soap, and I kept it pretty simple. And of course, we then took out our tray unit and disconnected the heat sensors and did a spray down, got all the food residue off with a little extra elbow grease, as I said, and came very clean, and it smells so much less like food. That sprayer is pretty awesome, and we use it every day for cleaning the house, you know, around the stove with just, you know, a quick towel, and use it on our food, on our vegetables and fruits, and, you know, anything that you would regularly clean for consumption. But I am really pleased with how it worked, and of course with the freeze dryer, how well and easily it cleaned up. We went ahead and sprayed inside that metal cylinder to get it clean and hopefully get rid of some of those long-term smells. It still has a scent to it, but not as strong as it was. After that, Brad took off the hose from the oil pump and then poured the oil out into our filtration system where it was lacking for a while, and now we're getting a more consistent drip. So that might be done today, who knows, but then we'll be able to pour that back into our oil bottle, label it so we know what it's from, and use it the next time we have to do all of our oil changes and everything like that. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know that there are more in-depth videos out there to, you know, learn from and see. This one is going to see more of the behind the scenes and the issues that you kind of come across. So hope that you take something away from that and maybe learn from us and others out there. But I appreciate you watching. If you like the content that you saw and you would like to see future videos, please consider subscribing. You'll be notified when they are set to premiere a post. In the meantime, Happy New Year again, and I hope you stick around to see all the videos that we have to release for the year. But we hope you're doing well, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!